All right, we're live. It's the Android Headline Show. This is we're broadcasting. Excuse me. Well, getting tongue-tied already. We are broadcasting live Thursday evening. It's June 19th. Um, this is episode 64 of the Android Headline Show. My name's Jeremiah. I'm joined tonight by Alex from the site. You want to say what's up, man?
What's up, everyone?
So it's just me and Alex holding down the fort tonight. Nick had some other stuff come up, and so Alex and I are gonna rock and roll. So we got a bunch of news, bunch of stuff happened yesterday with T-Mobile's Uncarrier announcement 5 and 6. Surprise! Let's see. Amazon's Fire Phone was officially announced with all those extra cameras, that 3D experience they're trying to bring. So we'll see who buys that phone. It's a little overpriced. We'll get into that. Nokia still working on some Android stuff. They released a Z launcher, which I'm a little bitter about because they don't support rooted phones. Google I/O. We're going to do a big Google I/O preview. We've talked about it some before, but it's next week. So we'll hit on that. Alex just about has his G3 review wrapped up, and that'll go live, I think, this weekend. So let's jump right into it, man. T-Mobile still, trying to rock the U.S. cell phone market. Had their supposed to be Uncarrier 5.0 event last night, which was the test drive. They announced something called test drive and wideband LTE rollout, and then surprised us with Uncarrier 6.0, which was music service, streaming music from a handful of apps, Pandora, Spotify, iTunes Radio. What are some of the other ones here?
iHeartRadio, Samsung Milk, Beatport is not out yet, but it'll be out soon. There's a few others
Rhapsody.
too. Yeah, you can, like, not everything is there. Obviously, Google Play Music's not there, but you can vote on their site for who to add next because they're gonna add somebody new like every 3 weeks, which I think is pretty cool. Um, I know a lot of people are getting all up in arms about it being something like, net neutrality, which I haven't followed that much. But I don't know what to think about that. I only see it like benefiting those that aren't on the truly unlimited data plans. Like if you're on the 50, the 60, or the $70 ones, which is 1, 3, and 5 gigabyte data caps, and then throttled after that. Because basically they're giving you unlimited streaming for those music apps. And today they added the Ookla speed test app, so now you can speed test forever without it hitting your data cap. Which that I think is kind of sneaky of T-Mobile, so that they can have us using their speed test app all the time and use it to brag against their competitors.
But it's brilliant because I use that speed test anytime
Hmm.
I travel, anytime I'm somewhere where, even if I'm just across town at a friend's house that maybe I haven't run a speed test before in that area of town.
Yep,
I'm forever
they've
pulling up that Ookla speed test and
they've
checking.
pretty much gotten rid of all my data usage because it was all between music and speed test. Because
Yep.
I'm on the 1 gigabyte plan, so I can't really go down any further. But that it's pretty cool. They also are partnering with, I think it's Rhapsody.
Oh, Alex, you still there, man? Getting a little choppy. But yeah, so Rhapsody, Google Play Music All Access, and Rdio are the two big ones that I noticed are not there. But I'm sure that they'll be added shortly. So they, because you can request for on T-Mobile site to add those in. So um, what were you going to say about Rhapsody, Alex? It kind of connection kind of stuttered there a little bit.
T-Mobile will partner with Rhapsody for their Unradio. Am I still
Okay.
choppy?
Nope, nope, you're good.
Okay. I figured all the features, but no ads, none of that. Bunch of stuff that you'd expect from a streaming radio service. They aren't doing basically. It's kind of like the Uncarrier internet radio. They're offering it free for those on the $80 unlimited data plan, and then it's $4 a month for all other T-Mobile customers. And if you're not a T-Mobile customer, you can still subscribe for like $5 a month, which is it's cheaper than Google Play All Access. But I don't think it's as like robust as Google Play All Access, because you can add basically anything to your library with All Access. I'm not sure if you can with Rhapsody. It's not out till Sunday, I think, the 22nd. I think that's Sunday. So we'll have to wait until then to see exactly how it all shapes out. And then the wideband LTE, which I was pretty interested to see, mostly because they rolled it out here in Detroit. They put it in Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, Columbus, Ohio, Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Honolulu, Houston, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida, LA, Minneapolis, Mobile, Alabama, Orlando, Florida, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Tampa, Florida, and then upstate New York. What wideband LTE is, they basically said it's 15 by 15 megahertz at least, so we might have 20 by 20 in some areas, because I know they're working towards that. It'll give us better speeds and more bandwidth, which I think we've probably had it here for a few months, because when I had the One M8 on T-Mobile, I was getting like 75 to 80 megabits down, and the G2 was not getting anywhere near that in those areas. So I don't know if it needs to be a newer phone to really take advantage of wideband LTE, but that's just what I'm guessing. I haven't heard anything from T-Mobile yet.
Which is crazy, man. 80 megs down. That's
and now you can do speed tests without it counting against you.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And watch it fly. And then the test drive. So I want to come back to the Unradio stuff, because you mentioned the net neutrality, and so I want to just touch briefly on that, because it is important. T-Mobile, I think their heart's in the right place. They just kind of a little bit of backlash on radio stuff and making that data unlimited and free. But the test drive, this is another step in their quest to gain more customers. So what this is they will basically send you a iPhone 5S to try out for free for 7 days. You go into a store, pick up a 5S. I think you can request one from the website too, and they'll mail it to you.
You can only request it from the website, and then you can only return it to the store. It's kind of weird.
Okay. Got some stipulations on it.
I want you to turn it into the store though. They also said there's going to be a grace period. I think it's like an extra week or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But, as soon as the 7th day hits, they're not going to charge you $700 for the iPhone 5S.
Right. But yeah, you get to try it out for free for a week. See if it works in your area. See if it's something that you can make T-Mobile work for you. I know in my area they're fantastic. I've got a buddy who's a little west of me in Virginia, and T-Mobile's got nothing but edge out there. So, but if you don't know, now you got a chance to try it out.
But you can only do a test drive, I think they said once a year. So you can do it like every year, because, coverage does change. It's changed here quite a bit in the last 2 years for me. It was pretty bad, and it's gotten pretty good now.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. Just in the last probably 24 months, T-Mobile's gotten decent. Decent enough that I dropped Verizon and switched to them. So, so this Unradio stuff, going back to kind of the net neutrality questions around it, the issue that some people had with it was that they are essentially making your music data streams, giving them priority by making them unlimited. And there were some people that were comparing it to AT&T's sponsored data plan. The difference with T-Mobile here is that they're not limiting this to just certain apps. They partnered with Rhapsody, but they've added Pandora, they've added Spotify, they've added iTunes. So you've got options there. They've opened it up to requests so that new apps like All Access and RDO have the potential to be added, and I'm sure they will be once we all go vote and request that. I've already requested all access to be added.
Yeah, right now all access is like killing the competition as
Yeah,
far as votes go.
yeah. So that'll be in there pretty soon. So, and that's the difference, is T-Mobile is not regulating this like something that where they're trying to squeeze out smaller apps, or they're just putting iTunes and Spotify in there and they're trying to squeeze out some little guys. Um, they're doing this for their customers. It's going to draw one of the major things that most of us do as far as data is video and music. And so if you take care of the music portion, now you can stream Pandora or Spotify once they add All Access and Rdio. I know Rdio has a free streaming app. So even some of these services that you pay for monthly, their mobile app for the radio portion is totally free. Now you can stream that all day. Whereas with AT&T's sponsored data, a company like Google could pay for YouTube, or Netflix could pay to make that data free, but AT&T at that point has the possibility is there, I should say, for AT&T to squeeze out other video services, and that's just an example. It's not just with video. So with all the focus being on net neutrality and internet companies creating fast lanes for certain services, that was the scrutiny here that T-Mobile was facing. None of these, from what I can tell, none of these music streaming services have paid T-Mobile for special access. It's something that T-Mobile has done to try and benefit their customers and try and bring in more customers and make it look good to switch to T-Mobile. So same thing with the test drive, same thing with buying out ETFs. That's been the whole point the whole time.
Yep, Ledger even said that they are not getting paid by these apps for this. That's probably why they're allowing you to choose who gets added to their whitelist next. And that's exactly what he told Dieter from The Verge when he asked that question last night about net neutrality. Is basically they're just giving you free data for those services. I mean, I could see, because it's treated differently since it's really unlimited, and even for those that are on cap data plans. But I don't know if it really matters, because I'm just happy to have it myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And as long as they're not getting paid, there's nothing shady going on.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't like about AT&T sponsored data plans. It just feels shady. So
for all we know, they could be getting paid and they're just not saying anything. But as far as we know, they're not being paid by Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of them really. Which I'm sure if they were, we would have heard some rumors before the whole thing happened. And
John Ledger's been pretty open about obviously about the competition and how much he hates them. Some of that's some of that's a gimmick. Like he's just kind of throwing elbows to prod the giants here in the U.S. But he's also been pretty blunt and pretty honest about T-Mobile's shortcomings. And that's why they're doing this test drive. Give you a phone and let you test it out for a week. Now it's an iPhone. It's not a Galaxy S5 or a M8 or something.
Yeah, but I think that's going to change pretty soon because Apple's paying for the hardware. So I'm pretty sure Samsung's going to jump in soon and do the same thing.
Oh, probably.
You know how they are.
And we'll find out for sure over the next week or so, because that everybody's digging into that. And so if these companies are paying, but again, I don't think they are. If we're allowed to vote on what music services are added to the unlimited unradio, that is in our hands, and it's T-Mobile's choice. It's not these companies paying for it. So I got no issue with that. Sprint, though, is looking like they're going to be able to finance this T-Mobile merger.
So they've got closer and closer.
Yeah, SoftBank's got 8. There are 8 different banks now that have signed on to finance a total of $40 billion for a Sprint T-Mobile merger. So that is going to be something that we see happen probably this year, SoftBank will make an offer. I'm sure T-Mobile will accept it. John Ledger said there's no way he's going to work for Dan Hess. So it sounds like the T-Mobile branding, the T-Mobile culture, and John Ledger are going to make that transition as well.
Yeah, the latest rumors said that Dan Hesse is going to become part of the board of directors for, well, SoftBank USA is what they said the combined company would be named.
Mm-hmm.
And then T-Mobile and his team will be, or John Ledger and his team from T-Mobile will, take over as CEO and all that. So he kind of would be working for Dan Hesse, but not really.
He'll still be running the show
Yeah.
with his board of directors advising in the background.
I mean, the way he's turned around T-Mobile in, what, about a year and a half now, I think?
Mm-hmm.
If that. Well, it might be close to 2 years now. I think he came in like the fall. But anyways, the way he's turned around T-Mobile in just those 2 years is pretty amazing because, I mean, they were losing close to 1 million customers a quarter, and now they're adding like 1 million, 2 million. Now, obviously, they're still losing money, but that's because they're paying ETFs and, all these other things that they're doing to lure customers over. And, of course, upgrading their network and stuff like that. I don't know if he can do the same thing with Sprint. I hope he can, especially if they merge. But it's going to be tough to see. I mean, he's been working hard at T-Mobile, and Sprint is just going to be a much bigger ship to steer because it's going to be two companies that are combined for about 95 million customers.
Yep. The banks that are involved there, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Deutsche Bank AG. I think those are 5 of the 8. So the other 3 are, let's see, overseas companies, Japanese companies.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah. Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group, Tokyo Mitsubishi, UFJ, and Mizuho Financial. So.
Yeah, I'm still thinking Dish Network is in this deal somehow because, I mean, Dish Network's been trying to get into wireless for a while, and that might be the only way to get SEC to approve it. This Dish Network started up a carrier somehow.
Could be. If the deal falls through, doesn't T-Mobile get like $4 billion out of it?
I think it's $2 billion. I think AT&T was $4 billion.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, AT&T was $4 billion with a bunch of spectrum, but this one is only $2 billion with no spectrum, so it's not as good a deal. But oh no, wait, was it the other way around? Again, I'm mixed up now.
The AT&T one was $4 billion. T-Mobile set themselves up to get that money because they had to know that it wasn't going to get approved. And this one might not get approved either, but
I think T-Mobile was just playing goat. Like we're just going to use our competitors to pay for our network.
Yeah,
I mean that's what they did with AT&T, and then when AT&T was bashing them, John Ledger put out that ad about if our network's so bad, why'd you try to buy it?
Yeah,
it's priceless.
Yep. So good stuff. We'll keep you posted on that SoftBank merger as that kind of unravels. Unravels. It's not going to unravel. They're going to try and put it together. So, but yeah. So Amazon's the Fire Phone. We'll get to that here in a little bit when we talk about some hardware stuff because I want to hear what you've got to say about the G3 as well. But Google I/O is in a week. It kicks off on the 25th, right?
I believe so.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Just Wednesday and Thursday.
2 days this year. Yep, you're right. 25th and 26th. So that's perfect because it'll wrap up Thursday evening. We'll have the show next week. We'll recap everything.
Yep.
What are you now? We'll get into kind of what to expect, what we want, what we're expecting to see as far as giveaways and new features, new hardware. But what are you most excited about seeing at I/O?
Probably Android Wear or the Nexus 8. I mean, I've been wanting a HTC Nexus for quite a while, probably since I had the G Nex or Galaxy Nexus. Not that I had a problem with the Nexus 4, Nexus 5 from LG. I just hadn't had LG before that, and I had at HTC, and I just knew how well their build quality was. So I'm interested for that Nexus 8 from HTC. Then Android Wear, I'm just interested to see how well it works on the G Watch and the Moto 360. I'm also interested to see what other OEMs do with their uh, Android Wear stuff, because I think everybody's on board to make one except for Sony. They said they're not going to jump on board. Same thing with Pebble, with Samsung, Acer, Asus. I'm really interested in Asus's one though.
And that's one that we might see at I/O. Most of these we're not expecting to see until the fall, but we know the G Watch will be there. That's supposed to be the reference device. It's probably going to be a giveaway.
The 360 will probably be there as well because it's supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be coming out in Q3, which starts about 5 days after I/O.
Yep. And then
I don't think anybody else has announced the Android Wear device yet.
Mm-mm. And HTC's will probably won't be until the fall either. So
yeah, it's just been a bunch of leaks and rumors.
Asus is the only other one that we have like a solid. Hey, this will probably this has a good chance of showing up at I/O. Yeah, man, I'm really excited about Android Wear. I might be a little more excited for Android TV. I'm honest. I really love my Google TV, as much of a piece of crap as it is sometimes, and but to get something that's slick, that's fast, that has Chromecast integration. Hopefully they build a web browser into it. Although they probably won't. That's one thing. That's why I still have a Google TV, is because I use it for Flash video streaming through the built-in Chrome browser. So that's really what I'd like to see is Android TV. From all that we're hearing, it's not going to be so much a like home media center as it is it's going to be more centered around apps and kind of presenting a kind of combined, complete experience, and make it really easy to find content. But that's really what I'm excited about. We heard that it was coming at I/O, then we heard that it wasn't. Now we're hearing again that it is, and I think we will. So I'm super excited about Android TV.
Well, we know it's coming sometime. We just don't know when it's coming because we've seen exclusive leaks for The Verge and I think GigaOM as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy with just Android TV as just like the Fire TV, but with Google services, Google Play Games and all that stuff. I'd be happy with that, even at the same price, even at $99. I'd buy that.
Oh, in a heartbeat. I have no problem. I mean, the price point's perfect. So
yeah, the Fire TV. I mean, I've talked about it many times, but I just love that thing. I still use it. I haven't even used my Chromecast since I got it.
And that's what Google is competing against. So
yep.
I'm super excited to see that. What we're actually expecting is Android Wear. That's obviously what we're gonna the main thing. And I gotta say, this year I'm really excited, more excited about I/O this year than I was last year. Because last year we heard that it wasn't going to be about Android. Like a month and a half before the event, we heard that this isn't going to be about Android this year. It's going to be about Chrome. It's going to be about Chrome OS. There were some rumors about convergence between the two, but we didn't see any of that. We saw Chrome. So this year we've got some actual Android-focused stuff in some new areas where we haven't seen Android before. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, we're expecting Android Wear. We're expecting Android TV, the Gwatch, the G Watch to be. I'm gonna call it the Gwatch. That's gonna stick. I've heard that at a couple different places. I wrote it up in an article like 2 weeks ago. It's the Gwatch, and that's the name that's gonna stick. But we're expecting that to be the reference device for Android Wear, and it's going to be a giveaway. They're going to give away free ones. I'm pretty sure.
The pricing we've seen is supposed to be cheaper than the Gear Fit and Gear 2 Neo from Samsung, which is like $199. So
it's going to be like
about the Pebble pricing.
Yeah, 150.
which means Pebble will be dead. Because I don't see
Nope.
anybody paying that much for that when you have Android Wear, which integrates so much better and has a color display.
Maybe not though, because people that are focused on battery life
Yeah.
will still lean towards Pebble because you can get like a week out of a charge on a Pebble.
Well, it's because it can't do anything.
Right. Well, and that's if all you want is notifications. It's a better fit. The Nexus 8 tablet from HTC, we're expecting to see that as well. Which
Yeah,
honestly, I'm excited about that too because we haven't seen an HTC tablet in a long time.
Since it was running like Gingerbread or Froyo.
Mm-hmm. And we've never seen a good Nexus HTC tablet. So
yeah, because that Evo View from HTC was not good at all.
No.
But none of the tablets in that time frame were really good because Android wasn't built for tablets. They were running like Android 2.2 and 2.3, and that's why Google rushed with Honeycomb to get that out for tablets.
Yep.
Even though that sucked too. Thankfully, I never used it.
Yep. Well, and that's a good. I'll mention this here. If you haven't checked this out yet, Ron Amadeo from he used to write for Android Police. Now he writes at Ars Technica. Wrote a 40,000 word history of Android. So go check that out if you don't read Ars Technica. You should. But this thing is like 20-something pages, I think. It's massive. It's a book. But it covers all of Android from the very beginning. It's pretty wild. So if you've got some time to just kind of look through, go look. I was looking at some of the old screenshots of Eclair and then the transition to Gingerbread when everything got dark and green. So it's pretty crazy.
It brings back memories.
It does, man. It absolutely is a walk, kind of a blast from the past.
Like, it's even hard to imagine that like the first version of Android, I think it was like 1.5, didn't have a lock screen, didn't have an on-screen keyboard. But then we all had physical keyboards on. Well, I think there was only like the G1 at that time. So I think the original Droid was the first one with the touchscreen or full. Not actually the device, but the OS that was on it, Eclair. I think that was the first one with the touchscreen keyboard, wasn't it?
I don't believe the G1 did at first because it had the trackball and the physical keyboard.
Was it touchscreen? I don't remember.
Yeah, the G1 had a touchscreen.
Yeah, I never had the G1, so.
But yeah, when you mentioned Honeycomb and kind of it made me think of that book that Ron Amadeo posted. So go check that out if you haven't yet. It's pretty cool. Google Play Fitness. Now this is something that we saw pop up this week that we hadn't heard about before. So with Google releasing watches and wearables, looks like they are going to be releasing something called Google Fit, which is an app to take on, like Samsung's S Health and
LG's Health app too.
Yep. So we'll see them announce that. There's a lot of data that they can gather and a lot of information that they can sell, if we're being honest. So
from what we've seen
this app.
From what we've seen with the leaks, it's going to tie into Google Play services, which I'm not surprised at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to work pretty much identical to the Google Play Games app. You can like compete against your friends and stuff, for the most steps and stuff. Kind of like you can with Fitbit. Although it'll probably work better than Fitbit does.
Yeah, and the same kind of GPS integration like Runtastic or MyFitnessPal or one of those. So.
Like third-party fitness trackers will be able to tap into it too. I think that's what we saw. So like if you have a Fitbit Flex like this one, you'll be able to use it for Google Fit, which would be pretty cool.
And if they're making Google Play Fitness into a platform like Google Play Games, then absolutely they'll release the APIs, and developers will just have to integrate those APIs into their fitness apps to tie into Google Play services. So it makes a lot of sense. It's something that honestly I'm a little surprised we didn't see out of Google before now.
It seems everybody's going the health and fitness route now after Samsung started with the S4, I think, is when the S Health started. with the pedometer and the phone and stuff, and now LG is doing it, but of course LG just does everything Samsung does anyways. I think HTC did it in the M8 too. I don't remember. I know that Nexus 5 had the ability to do it, but you had to download it like a separate app.
Yeah, yeah. So we're expecting to see that at I/O next week. Also, Google released an Android Wear intro video. We've got that up on the site, so you can check that out if you haven't seen it yet. What else, man? We haven't seen anything about Google Plus. So we heard that platform might be dead, or they were changing the name. They're not focused on it. So
I don't think it's really dead. I just don't think there's anything for them to, update us with yet. I also think Android Wear is going to take up most of that keynote, along with Android TV and the Nexus 8. Because if we have Nexus 8, then we're also going to have a new version of Android, which means that's going to take up more time too. So I don't know.
You think we're going to see a new version of Android?
If you see a Nexus 8, then yeah, because they've never released a Nexus without a new version of Android. But if Nexus 8 is paused like they did last year, put it out in like July or August, then we'll probably see it then.
Yeah. That's a good thought.
I'm not sold on new version of Android at Google I/O, but if we do see new Nexus hardware, then we'll have a new version.
And Android 4.4.4 dropped on us today, kind of out of the blue. Surprise! So we just saw 4.4.3 last week, and we're already up to 4.4.4. It's just a security fix. So some of the OpenSSL stuff that needed to be fixed. So it's just a quick, bug fix and security fix. But that's rolling out already for Nexus. 4, 5, 7, and 10. Both years of the Nexus 7. Just the Wi-Fi models, not the LTE models yet, though. Those will have to go through carrier approval before they get delivered to the LTE versions of the Nexus 7. But
I don't think those actually do, except for the Verizon one. I think the other ones, because they're all unlocked. Well, they ship a SIM card with it, but they're all unlocked.
I was thinking the Verizon one specifically, but
the Google Play editions, I don't think they're getting theirs yet either. I haven't seen anything about it.
There might be something they have to tweak with the radios. I don't know.
Yeah, and the Moto line, I haven't heard anything about that either. I mean, this just dropped about 3 hours ago? It was 7 o'clock when it hit.
Sprint just released 4.4.3 for the Moto X on their network, so it'll be another week or two before, But if it's quick, it'll be easy for them to merge the code.
Yeah, because the T-Mobile Moto X, which is basically just the unlocked Moto X because T-Mobile doesn't sell it, that one was updated, I think, before some of the Nexus devices got it. I think before the LTE and 3G versions of the Nexus 7 got it, and maybe the Nexus 10, because that one was pretty slow to get 4.4.3 as well.
Alex, let's move on to something I'm really excited about, because this is probably the best news of the whole week. Absolutely, I can't even sit still. I'm so excited about the Amazon Fire Phone.
Sarcasm?
Yep, absolutely. I was gonna see how long I could run with that before I lost it, and it was.
For a minute, I thought you were talking about the G3.
Yep, no, man, it was for about 10 seconds. That was all the longer I could make it. So Amazon announced the Fire Phone yesterday, just before T-Mobile's Uncarrier event. I don't know anybody that's gonna buy this thing. Let's talk about the specs and some of the features, and then I'll tell you why it's a waste of your time. And I say that mostly serious, but a little jokingly, because maybe you're into Amazon. Maybe that's really the ecosystem that you've bought into, and you like instant video, and you've got a Kindle Fire, or so maybe that's what you want. And if you do, this is the phone for you then. Like all the other Amazon products, it doesn't have access to the Play Store. It runs Fire OS and Amazon's App Store. Hardware-wise, it's got a 4.7-inch LCD IPS display with Gorilla Glass 3. It's only 720p resolution. At 4.7 inches, 720p is not going to look bad. It's a cost-cutting measure.
Yeah, the Moto X did look pretty good actually.
Yeah, so I'm not really worried about that. It's got a Snapdragon 800 chipset, clocked at 2.2 gigahertz, Adreno 330 GPU, 2 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, optical image stabilization. So the specs aren't bad. It's $199 on contract for the 32 gig version, $299 for the 64 gig version, and that's where it gets me.
And it's AT&T only.
And it's an exclusive. So
and if you look at all the bands that it supports, there's no reason for it to be AT&T exclusive other than they're the only ones that picked it up.
They worked out a deal with Amazon to carry the phone.
Yep. Because Amazon knows they can't just put the Fire Phone in the Amazon store and expect it to sell unlocked on T-Mobile and AT&T. Because I think it might even work on Sprint with like the same way that the Nexus 5 does. But they know they can't sell it for $649, $749 because those are the off-contract prices right now. Because people just aren't going to buy an Amazon phone for that. I mean, Sony has trouble selling their phones for that much, and they've made a lot more phones than Amazon has.
It's going to be another Facebook phone.
Yep, that's what everybody's saying. It's going to be like the HTC Cha-Cha and the HTC First. So it'll probably be a penny in a couple weeks.
Yep. And that's what gets me. It's an exclusive, and it's overpriced. Some of that is sticker shock because the rumors going into this event were that Amazon was going to price this cheap, maybe do something cool with data like Amazon services would get free data.
All the stuff that the Amazon phone does, or the Fire Phone does, you're going to need a lot of data because it does a lot of cloud stuff. Like all the Firefly stuff, that's all through the cloud. Pretty much everything is through the cloud.
So tell us about the Firefly stuff.
Firefly is basically Google Goggles, but a lot better. You can basically like hold up the camera. There's actually a physical Firefly button on there. So you have a physical where you got a power button, volume rocker on one side, then you've got like I think you have a shutter key for the camera on the other side with the Firefly button. Firefly, you can open up the camera, have it looking at like, I don't know, the screen or something, and it can see what it is. Like if I have it pointed at my mouse, I can see that this is a Logitech Performance MX mouse, and then open it up on their website for me to buy it. Which obviously we know why they're doing it that way because they want you to spend money at their store. But it works on books, CDs, DVDs, basically anything, even URLs and pictures and stuff like that. The 3D stuff, it's kind of like the parallax stuff that they put in iOS 7 that Apple put in there. So I don't know why we have it. And,
that's the 4 front-facing cameras, one on each corner, right?
Plus the actual front-facing camera.
Yeah, it'll use that too.
Because those 4 actually have infrared sensors in there.
And so it'll change, like parallax, it'll move the background.
Yep.
You can do like panorama shots and stuff, spin around. It'll also with Google Maps, or no, it's not Google Maps, but with a Maps app, you can get kind of like a 3D view on the map. You can turn, like if you go into Yelp and look at the map, you can just turn the phone a little bit, and it'll sense that it's being turned between the cameras and the gyro in there, and pop up like additional information on the Yelp map for those businesses. So there are a couple of cool features. That Firefly, like, so you can just take a picture of something and buy it on Amazon. If you use Amazon
take a picture, it just has to see what it is.
And it'll pull it up, right? Okay. But that's a pretty cool feature. There were a couple other ones that were like, okay, that's not too bad.
When they were talking about the camera, they were comparing it to I think it was the iPhone 5s and the Galaxy S5. The pictures they showed up on stage, it looked better. Now, obviously, we don't know if they did editing or how they did that. So we'll have to wait until we actually get one to see how good the camera actually is. But they're saying it's pretty good, so there's that. Nick will be happy about that. It only has a 2400 milliamp battery, which is bigger than what the Nexus 4 had, and the Moto X at the same size and basically same display. So it probably had pretty good battery life. It's a glass back, so not everybody's too happy about that. It looks a lot like the Nexus 4 mixed with like a iPhone 5C.
It's got a physical button on the front, physical home button.
Yep. I've also heard a lot of people saying that it's pretty heavy. A lot of people that were actually at the event, because I wasn't there.
And with the camera, you do get unlimited cloud storage for your photos on Amazon.
They're also giving you a year of Amazon Prime for free, so that's $100 off the cost. Because if you don't have an Amazon Prime account, they're giving you a year for free, like a free trial. Then if you do have it, they're going to still give you a year for free, so that if you like just paid for your yearly membership like last week, you don't have to pay for like 2 years, which is still pretty cool. Because on some promotions like that, like Google Play Music All Access, I already had already have it, so some phones that came with that promotion, I wasn't able to use it, like even the Chromebooks, which kind of sucked, but at least Amazon has it the way, so you can still use the promotion even if you already use that service.
Yeah, that was nice of them. And so that basically brings the phone down to $100. The 32 gig version at $199. You're getting a $99 Amazon Prime subscription with it. So really, it's a $100 phone with a year of Amazon Prime.
Yep. There's no SD card slot, so you're stuck with the 32 gigs, which is probably plenty. But
well, you're streaming everything, all your photos, all your video. Amazon Instant Video you get, which is a bummer because
there's nowhere else.
Yeah, well, this is the only way you can get it on your phone. There's not a instant video app that works with just about any phone. You can, if you're rooted, you can kind of tweak some things and get the app working. But
it works on iOS, and I think that's the only other platform is on mobile platform. I don't know. I've heard that the reason why it's not on Android is because piracy issues, but I don't think that should matter.
No, it's because Amazon and Google are not friends. So that's the Amazon phone. If you're into Amazon, it's for you. If you're not, you might as well look elsewhere. You're paying for a high-end phone, and you're getting a decent phone with Amazon services and no Google apps. So
if you're fine without Gmail, Hangouts, Google Plus, Google Play Store, all that stuff, then Fire Phone would be perfect for you. I didn't even realize how much Google Play or Google services I used until I used the Kindle Fire for Kindle Fire HDX for a review last fall, and man, it was a nightmare. Couldn't even do anything that I would use a tablet for other than watching movies and stuff.
Can you sideload apps?
You probably can, but I didn't really check.
And so you can probably get that stuff running, but it may be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, you can put ROMs on there, especially the Kindle Fires. You can, because the HDX, they have pretty good specs. I mean, 2560 by 1600 display at like 8.9 inches, Snapdragon 800, 2 gigs of RAM. The specs are there. I will put a custom ROM in if I bought one today.
Yeah. Well, you can get you a Fire phone and put a ROM on it too. Have a whole bunch of Amazon stuff with running a CyanogenMod mod. So talk to me about the G3, man. This is actually exciting. You've had this G3 now for about a week and a half. Your review will go up this weekend. Tell us about the phone.
Well, this is still the best part. The antenna. Pull that out, everybody's like, is your phone from like the 1800s? Because you haven't had those on phones for a while. First thing everybody asks about is battery life, obviously. Battery life has been pretty good for me. Not quite as good as the G2, but pretty close. I think 2 days this week I was able to get like 6 hours on screen Yesterday was almost 7, and that was like 15 or 14 hours off the charger too. So it's not like I was only using it for 6, 7 hours to get all that on-screen time. It was off the charge for quite a bit.
That's
The
impressive
display,
because this is the Korean version too.
yeah. So I'm figuring we'll be able to get 7.5, 8 without it being rooted for the US version because I'm always roaming, but I am pretty close to Canada, so that's also why. Um, a couple other things that I really liked was the fact that you can get rid of these sliders. So if you swipe all the way over and hit edit in the quick toggles, you can go ahead and get rid of these sliders if you want. I kept the brightness on there because I actually use it quite a bit since I take pictures on this phone a lot for the site and stuff. You can hide the front touch buttons down here. If you don't want to see them in certain apps, you can hide them per app, which is pretty cool. I did that in Google Plus. I can just swipe up to get them back open because they do hide in the camera app. As far as well, Smart Notice it's pretty cool. So you've got all this stuff here. It'll show you like the weather, and so let me reselect network because it's a Korean phone. It'll tell you the weather, a whole bunch of other stuff. Like if you missed a call, it'll tell you that you got a call received by somebody and ask if you can call them back. Then it'll give you option to call or send message. It's kind of like Google Now, but not quite. It's not quite as robust as Google Now is, which Google Now wasn't either when it first launched. On the back, the back buttons back here, I love them on the G2 and they're even better on the G3 because now they're textured so you can actually feel when you're using like the volume buttons compared to the G2, which doesn't have texture on the volume buttons. I don't know what else to say. It's a really good phone. And people are always looking for faults with it because it's Quad HD display, same battery as the G2, but bigger display, more pixels. There's not a Snapdragon 805 in there. I mean, I was writing my review today, and I'm trying to figure out like what can I say that's bad about it, because at the bottom of the review we always, especially for flagships, we always do like the good and then the bad and then go to our like final thoughts, and it's just hard to find bad stuff about this phone. Everything is just so good, at least for me.
And that's impressive.
Only thing bad is that it's not here yet.
Right. And that might be it, man. I'm really impressed that the Korean version roaming all the time. Now I know you're on Wi-Fi a lot, but you're still getting with that screen and the Snapdragon 801, not an 805.
Yep.
You're still getting 5 or 6 hours on screen and
15
hours off battery off charger.
I did a test earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday, where I basically used the screen at 50% brightness all day, and I got, I think it was 12 hours off the charger with about 3.5 hours on screen. So everybody's like, "Oh, that's terrible," but you gotta remember that's at 50% brightness. So that's pretty bright considering I usually have it at 0% because it's still pretty bright indoors for me. And of course, at 50% it's going to use a lot more battery. So I thought it was pretty good at 50% for it to use that much because I don't think many other phones could do that. I haven't tried on any other phone, but.
So yeah, it was a big worry. Was the battery with that screen? So yeah. I'm glad to hear that it's
treating
you well. How's performance? Have you done played any games on it? Have you really pushed
it? I played Asphalt 8 for a while, and I exited out of that. Then I went straight to the notification panel to up the brightness, and like when I go to like 85%, right now I can go all the way up. Like when I go to 85%, it was because it would overheat, which I mean it was just running Asphalt 8 for like 20-30 minutes. So of course it's gonna overheat when you go to like 85% brightness, or even higher than that. Other than that, it's been pretty good. I did notice, I think it was over the weekend, it dropped down below like 10% battery and started lagging pretty bad. After that, I did get an OTA. I've gotten pretty much an OTA every day since I've gotten this phone. So there's been quite a bit of pre-release bugs in here, which is understandable. And since then, I also did a factory reset, but since then I haven't had any like lags or slowdowns at all. The only lag was actually when Comcast was acting up, and well, can't really help that.
Right, but when you're gaming and then you're jumping out to adjust the settings and coming back in, and
Yep, everything's fine. It's just like it
it's not
runs on
stuttering at
the
all.
just like it runs on the M8, the S5, the G2. I mean, those are the last three flagship phones I've used, so
That's killer.
that's just what I compare it to.
Good stuff. Well, cool, man. I'm really excited to read your review. So.
3,000 words, so have fun.
Yep. No, man. Well, that's good. You know, you really are diving into. It's got a lot of features and it's got a lot of cool stuff, and it really.
Yeah, the review isn't the end of our G3 stuff, our G3 content. There's still going to be a whole lot more. We've got all kinds of tutorials to go over and stuff like that, which I'm kind of trying to wait until we get a US one in here to do that, because I think it'll be easier. But there's still a whole lot more that we're going to do with the G3. I still got to do comparison with the G2 and camera comparison with that, and a few other stuff. So.
And the OnePlus One too. We'll do some comparison stuff with that because Nick has a OnePlus One now.
Yeah, that's why he's not here.
Yeah, we were giving him a hard time that he got a new phone and took the night off to go play with it, but.
No, he had other plans that came up, so he wasn't able to come.
But we're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff on the OnePlus One now that we've got one on hand. Testing that camera. Nick's a big fan, so he picked up a G2 and had some issues rooting it, and he bought a T-Mobile G2 and had some problems with it, just getting it rooted and stuff. So he went ahead and ordered a OnePlus One. Got that, and it really came in like a week, 5 days, something like that, from the time he ordered it.
You know, it had like 2 shipping delays.
Yeah.
I know Europe's got another shipping delay. I think it came out yesterday or the day before. So.
Yeah, he'll be on next week talking about that. He'll get a review up, really dive into the OnePlus One, also do some comparisons with the G3. So that'll be good. A couple other things I wanted to hit, just software and apps. But before we do that, we had a question from Kendall. What are you expecting from Google I/O? And can you see Android Wear really taking off and taking market share? So what we're expecting, we already went over that. Android Wear, Android TV, the Nexus 8, a couple of watches, the Gwatch, Google Play Fitness. I do see Android Wear taking off, and I say that because we've already got partners announced from pretty much every major and a whole bunch of minor Android OEMs, as well as several watchmakers. So it's going to explode.
I don't know how quickly or if they'll be able to overtake. Samsung is going to be Android Wear as well, so but overtake Tizen's market share.
Won't take long.
Well, Samsung's doing all that marketing, so.
But Samsung's watches still only work with Samsung devices, and that's what's going to bite them.
Well, they still have, like 80% of the Android market?
Yeah, but they don't have 80% of the Android market and all of those customers buying smartwatches. Because to me, up to this point, there's been nothing compelling about the design or the functionality or the battery life out of any of the Galaxy watches that have made me want to run out and buy one. Both the Gwatch and the Moto 360. I'm gonna keep calling it that, man. It's just
that's how it is for me with basically every smartwatch. I like the Sony smartwatch. I just didn't buy it because I didn't think I'd want to keep it. Pebble, I just didn't like that it was a black and white display. Although I did want the Pebble Steel really bad. That's really about it. Besides Samsung's Gear stuff. They have 70% of the market share right now, and since they are doing Android Wear, they're gonna have both Tizen and Android out there. Because I'm sure they're still gonna put out Tizen stuff, just like they're gonna put out Tizen smartphones along with Android smartphones and Windows Mobile smartphones.
But they say they've got 70% of the market share, and they've also only sold like 300,000 to 400,000 watches. So
yeah,
the market's just not that big. Yeah, same thing with Pebble. Like it it's a big name, but not a lot of people have purchased them.
Yep.
So Android Wear is going to be the tipping point for that, especially if it's cross-platform. If there's functionality for iOS and potentially Windows Phone, it's a done deal.
Big question for me because I'm wondering will we keep it as Android only or they take a cross-platform? Because looking at like their services, Gmail, Maps, all that stuff, it's also an iOS, and I think to an extent on Windows Mobile. I think there's like YouTube there. I'm not sure what else is on there. And that took a while to get there too. So I don't know if it's gonna be Android and iOS or just Android. It might be just Android at first.
That's what I'm thinking. We'll see this fall maybe. They'll expand to iOS.
Google just wants everybody using their services on everything possible because that translates to more ad dollars. So it's common sense, but we'll have to see what happens.
And there's a lot of data they'll be able to gather from these watches. So, it'll come to iOS sooner rather than later. So some of the software and app stuff. Google Docs got a little bit of an update, as did Hangouts, to kind of fix some bugs. Google Docs, if you're in Sheets or one of the other Google Docs apps, you can now delete a document from within the document. So you can just delete it while you're in there, and then when you back out, it'll be gone.
Yeah, surprising that wasn't there before.
Right. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Nokia released an Android launcher today, the Z launcher, which looked pretty cool. I wanted to try it out, and then it doesn't support rooted phones, so you fail, Nokia. Because I won't be checking it out.
It's just a virus.
Right, maybe. Maybe it's just a virus. Maybe my rooted phone is a virus. Maybe Nokia is a virus.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Nokia is the virus.
Which is goofy. Nokia.
Because they're part of Microsoft.
Yeah, but this is something that they obviously, Nokia kept all their patents. They just sold the hardware division. So we'll probably see other apps released from Nokia, which I'm fine with.
I think was it the Nokia Here Maps or something like that? It's supposed to be coming out for Android at some point. I heard that when we were like a few months ago, I think. I don't know if it's still going to come or not, but.
And as much of a background as they have in developing operating systems and apps for S40, S60, MeeGo, working with the Windows Phone platform, it just makes sense for them. Now they're going to be a software company, so they got to do something. They didn't sell the whole company to Microsoft or dissolve what was left after they sold the hardware division. So I was just really bummed that they put that restriction on rooted devices. There's no reason for that. It's pretty ridiculous, and it kind of ticked me off.
Yeah, it'll probably change by tomorrow.
I hope so.
I'd like to give it a backlash on the Play Store, and they'll change it. Because it happened with another app. I don't remember which one it was, but another one they wanted root, and everybody was complaining about it. Or they didn't. They wanted non-rooted devices, and everybody was complaining about it, so they changed it. Might even be Facebook.
And it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to not support rooted devices. The only thing that I could think of that they might use as an excuse, and it's not even a good one, is your device just not being able to support rooted devices because they might be tweaked. They might be running custom ROMs. You might have frozen services or added this or that to your rooted device that you won't get from a stock device. But they're already making it available. It's a pre-beta download. It's only officially supported on a handful of devices. The Nexus 5, the Galaxy S3, 4, and 5, the HTC One, although they didn't specify between the M7 and the M8, the Xperia Z1. But I was able to download it on my Nexus 4. It just wouldn't fully install because it was rooted. So somebody I read got it up and running on the G2. So
It's basically like the Facebook Home Launcher, and that thing launched. It launched on what, like 5 devices, like the Galaxy S4, Note 2, the HTC First, another HTC phone. Actually, I think it was all Samsung phones. Actually, it might still be that way. I
Yeah.
haven't checked because I don't really care about Facebook Home.
Well, and the Z Launcher has got predictive apps, or app prediction rather. So as you're using apps during certain times of day or in certain places, it'll predict what you want to use, throw it up on your screen to make that easy for you to access. The goal being to keep you from having to ever access your app drawer. And if they do it right, it'll work well. Everything Me Launcher didn't do it right. Like I couldn't get that working right for me. So I wanted to try out Z Launcher. Oh well. Art is also going to be replacing Dalvik in the next version of Android. So the Android runtime will be replacing the Dalvik runtime whenever the next version of Android comes out. So there were some commits that were made to where was it?
AOSP just basically said Dalvik's dead.
Yep. So some of these commits that were made to the AOSP code base stated pretty clearly that Dalvik was going to be replaced. And at this point, developers have had time to update their apps. Google actually changed the way they were doing it to make art backwards compatible. The developers didn't really have to mess with it as much. But that's coming in the next version of Android, so will not be long now.
Could be next week.
Could be. I kind of doubt it, but it could be.
Yeah, me too. After last year.
So what? That's all we got on the agenda tonight, man. So I gotta take a moment to thank Chris for these sweet Android headline shirts. So
we forgot to wear them last week.
Yep. But thanks, Chris. They're really sweet. I like it a lot. What's so we got these new shirts. What else is new in your Android world, Alex? What you got going on?
Well, I have something that's not really new. I've actually had it for a couple of weeks. It's the Fitbit Flex here. So I've been using that for the past 2 weeks because since I work from home, I'm not really as active as I should be. So I've been trying to get more motivated to do more stuff outside and walk around more. Basically, I actually pretty like it. I had the Jawbone Up last year, and basically as soon as you let the battery die and try to recharge it, it's dead forever. So I decided not to go back with them, and picked up the Fitbit Flex from. I actually got pretty cheap from Best Buy because I had a big gift card.
Nice.
So far, I like it. I mean, it took a little bit getting used to having it because I haven't worn a watch in so long or anything really on my arm since probably high school or earlier. So it took a little while to get used to, especially with sleeping with it on because it tracks your sleep and stuff too. App is actually designed pretty well. I actually really like it, but that's about all I've got that's new. Pretty boring this week.
Well, last week you had the G3 and a couple other things, so.
Yeah. I think that's
sweet,
all.
Man. That's what's up. Well, this week, you sent me a bunch of new battery packs, which is cool. I think most of those, they'd all been reviewed, but I appreciate that. Those will definitely come in handy. The only other thing new that I've really messed with is this new launcher, Terrain. So it's, when you first look at it, it's just looks like a standard launcher. You got their icons across the bottom. You got My Beautiful Wife. There's 3 icons across the bottom. One's for search to take you into Terrain search, and this will search your contacts, your apps, or the web. Then the app drawer looks a lot like Aviate, so it's all alphabetized. There's not a dark theme; it's all white, which is not my personal favorite. But and then it's contextual, like Aviate. It's got these cards for, you got weather, you got traffic, you got recent contacts, recent apps, toolbox. It gives you a preview of your gallery, all your gallery photos. There's a couple of feeds for like webcomics. I added XKCD in there. So there's a bunch of cards you can add, stocks and different things. But it's a pretty cool launcher. I've been using Aviate for a long time and switched to Terrain just to try it out, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really smooth. The main screen, you can create folders. It's very much so like the stock launcher. There's it automatically puts a most used folder, and this updates as you're using apps. So you can add apps to it. I've added a couple, but the stuff that you use the most will automatically appear there as well, which is pretty cool. So that's been new for me. It's the Terrain launcher was actually built by Samsung, the Samsung Accelerate program. So but it's pretty sweet. That's about all that's new with me. I think that's it. That's gonna do it for the show tonight, man. It's been fun. So you can find us obviously at AndroidHeadlines.com, on Twitter at AndroidHeadline without the S, on Google Plus and Facebook. The podcast is on iTunes. Go rate us on iTunes if you like the podcast. Go give us a good rating. If you don't like the podcast, what are you doing? Wasting your time downloading and listening. Stop that. But if you do like us, go rate us on iTunes or Stitcher. We're up on Stitcher too. Let us know. Drop us a line in the comments for on the post about the show or about the podcast. Let us know. What you want us to talk about. We've had a couple of guests on over the last month or so. If there's any guests that you'd like to hear from or anybody that you'd like us to pull in for the show, we have fun talking about this stuff, but we do it for you guys. It's a blast. So, Alex, I appreciate you hanging out with me, man. Every week holding it down.
No problem.
So, have a great night, dude.
You too.